Hey, what's up guys? Jeff Fenster here, and if you're new to the show, I want to invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And don't forget to hit the notification bell to be notified on all things The Jeff Fenster Show. The link will be in the show notes below. Now, back to the show. Welcome back to The Jeff Fenster Show for another segment of Lessons Learned, where we're going to recap the top 9 takeaways from Codie Sanchez on playing the game of business. Number 1, following your curiosity.
The best things happen by following your curiosity, and your curiosity usually leads to an obsession, and your obsession becomes your unfair advantage. And most people ask the question of, well, what should I do with my life? Well, what should I do next? And I think the right question is, what do you do when nobody's looking and no one pays you? Mm-hmm. And if you answer that question by continuing to do the thing, eventually you'll find a business in it. And I'm not talking about your passion, because I think that word's played out. I'm talking about, like, what do you get so obsessed with that you can't stop learning about it?
But how do you so if it's not passion, what's the right word for it?
Curiosity.
Curiosity.
Because a passion could be like, I love playing golf. Okay, well, that's great. Or I love gardening. But are you obsessed with it? Like, do you think about it in the dead of night and keep trying to tweak your strategy and become so involved in it that you lose track of time? And do you want to become one of the best in the world at that thing, not because you think you can make money, but because you have some unique skill that is aligned with this thing that sits in front of you that keeps you up in the dead of the night? And so that for me was always writing and doing deals in some way, shape, or form. Number 2, the new business shower. When your friends start having kids or getting married, right? They start sending out invitations to the baby shower or to the wedding. And you got to show up. You got to pay a bunch of money to do stuff. You got to be involved. And I've always thought when somebody launches a new venture or somebody starts a new business, there should be something like that, right? It should be like, I'm launching this new thing and I'd love you to partake in it in some way, shape, or form.
Like a new business shower.
Basically. Maybe we should come up with that.
A better name. But
I love it. So with this new venture, I did exactly that. I said, I've had a business baby, and I sent out an email to basically anybody I'd ever met ever and all of my friends and said, I'm launching this thing. And I've never once launched a thing to any of you guys over the past however many years I'd been in finance and doing corporate jobs. So I said, well, I'm going to announce this, and then I'm going to ask people to participate. I'm going to say, I'm not going to put you on the list or anything, but if you think this thesis, which was, if we ask the right questions, we will get the right answers. If you believe that to be true, and if you also think that the world is a little chaotic, and if you also think that perhaps you don't know where the intersection of money, freedom, and critical thinking lies, then maybe you should come along on this journey with me. Just sign up. And then if you want to pay for the VIP experience, perhaps you could forward it to a few people. And I said, and if you do, tell me who they are and I'll respond to them individually. But for me, consider this, my baby shower, my wedding shower, whatever. And it's sort of funny because I am married and my husband and I didn't have a wedding. We didn't have an engagement party. We didn't ask for anything. But what I do ask of the people closest to me is for them to participate in the thing that I am building. Because I think that's a lot more important than getting a random present for an event you're going to have in your personal life.
It's true. And I don't think we do a good enough job as community of friends to support each other when we do these ventures. As a serial entrepreneur myself, I can't tell you when I start something, it might be 8 months later and a good friend of mine, who's a good friend of mine, will say, I've been meaning to go check it out. And I'm thinking to myself, like, you're my good friend. If I called you and asked you, you'd come, but shouldn't you do that anyway? And I don't think it's just society. We don't have it programmed yet to have that. Exactly what you just said, a baby shower support group for all these new ventures.
No, it's exactly true. I mean, when we first were chatting and we were going to do this podcast, what's one of the first things I did? And I texted you a picture of it. I'm like, I just bought a bunch of stuff from Everbowl.
You did?
And why? We're not even really friends yet. But I was like, 1, I want to experience what this gentleman's built that I'm going to do something with. And then 2, I'm going to spend the money somewhere. I'm hungry. So why wouldn't I do it with a person that I already know? And so I think that can also be a huge difference in your life. We have this mutual friend, Dan Fleshman, who's here and sort of connected us. And he's the master at this, right? He not only connects every single human that he thinks is value added to one another, but then he takes it one step further and he signs up for your emails and your new business venture and your new products. And so if you want to be in the game with players, then I think you've got to be the one to pass the ball around, and most people won't do that.
Number 3, humans are convenience junkies.
I mean, humans are at a base level convenience junkies. I mean, we do the thing that's easiest for us, that's right in front of us, that's most natural. And it takes some extra steps to go and sign up for your friend's XYZ when you've already done this other thing for a long amount of time. And then also, most people have never felt the pain of entrepreneurship or the pain of ownership. I actually think that we're having an ownership crisis in the US right now, that most of us buy from businesses we've never stepped foot in, with owners we will never shake their hand, who probably aren't located not only not in our city, but in our state.
Yep.
And so we have given away our purchasing power, our dollars that we spend, 1 out of every 3 days in your adult life you'll spend working over your entire lifetime. And because of that, we should be really careful where we put our dollars, but we aren't. And if we were thoughtful about it, we'd probably rather give it to a neighbor than give it to, no shame in his game, Jeff Bezos, right?
Yep.
Who we're never going to meet. And he probably doesn't need another one to go on his yacht.
Number 4, I don't do discounts.
I don't give discounts to friends, and I never take one. So, I would never go to your business and say, like, hey, Jeff, I'm here. Like, you want to hook me up with something? Doesn't matter if I need the cash or not. I'm always going to be the one to pay a little bit more and do the next thing, because you're not helping your buddy out by asking for a discount. You're actually being a little bit obnoxious. You're not going to go ask for Amazon's discount, right?
It's true. I mean, and my rule with that is, if it is your main thing,
Yeah.
I need to pay you. Like, I have good buddies. Oh, I'll take care of this for you. I'm like, wait. That's your main thing.
Yeah.
If I ask you to help me move, I'm not paying you.
Yeah,
Because you're not a moving company. Come help me move some boxes. But if I go to your business, that's your main source of income. I agree with you. I don't want to. I never ask for them to do it for free, because a lot of times they'll offer, or I'll give you the hookup. Unless you give everyone the hookup, in which case I'm just one of the norm, sure.
Yeah.
Or it's a not professional course of action for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty cool to say, no, man, I think what you're doing is incredible.
In fact,
I want to
let me pay twice.
Yeah, I want to pay full price, and that's also like a little dollar put in the piggy bank of relationships, which I think are probably the best income generating asset you have.
Number 5, getting skin in the game.
I think the world would be a better place if every human had some skin in the game. Do I think that they need to run the business? Absolutely not. It is, you know how you see a president pre getting elected and post getting elected, and instantly in those 4 8-year periods, they age 35 years. I think that's the same thing with entrepreneurship. It's really hard. It's a hard game. It's worth it if you're willing to do the work, but it's not worth it if you're not, because you can go bankrupt. And, you can lose a lot of sleep for many, many nights. So I think I agree with you there. Now, where I try to align is in every one of my businesses, wherever it's humanly possible, I like my employees to have skin in the game. Meaning, if you do X and achieve X goal, you will get Y additional compensation. You might get some revenue split. You might get some profit split. You might get some equity. Really depends on the type of business. Not every employee in every company deserves equity. Just not popular opinion, but absolutely true. And you have to earn equity over time, because it's like a marriage. Then we're married for the rest of the time this company exists. But I do think skin in the game is important. So as long as people are striving for a way when they do better for them to earn more, I'm aligned. Because I think the worst thing in the world is what we're seeing in the government right now, which is basically, they have maximum incentive misalignment. So if you run a government entity, you have one goal, really, which is you want to increase the budget of that entity, because with budget comes power, comes new hires, and comes usually new committee placements. And so their goal each year is just to spend the most humanly possible. How wild is that? And they have no incentive alignment to earn more, to cut savings, really even to deliver programs. And I think a lot of corporations are the same. It's like your main priority is to get more budget because then you have more people. And you're not incentive aligned. You don't have skin in the game. And I want my people to have skin in the game. And I think the 2.0 evolution of that is, can you have skin in the game in the downside too? You know, my dad famously said when somebody asks him for addition, like a revenue share or profit share, they go, perfect. So when I lose money, you pay me. And that changes people's perspectives pretty quick.
It does. And it's a quote my dad used to always tell me. He said, never put too much stock in anyone's opinion who doesn't have to live with the outcome. Exactly.
It's the whole, Nicholas Nassim Taleb. He's pretty famous on this idea of skin in the game and incentive alignment. And so if a government employee has no repercussions because of what they do, it's probably not the right person to be in charge.
Hey everyone, just wanted to take a second to say how incredibly grateful we are for all of our listeners, and I want to hear from you. Your feedback is greatly appreciated, and it will only help us make this show better for you. So any questions you have, click the link in the show notes below and let us know. Now, back to the episode. Number 6, the video game of business.
And I think half of that is the game of business. We're just addicted to the video game of business as opposed to Call of Duty.
Yeah, the gamification of it. Which, if that doesn't light your hair on fire, don't be an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
because you're going to lose and compete with people who it is. And that's the scariest part of entrepreneurship. Is I taught a class about this, and I was explaining to them, like, when you think of like the NFL, there's 32 teams. When you think of business, you don't know, even if you're Jeff Bezos has no idea if some 16-year-old or 80-year-old or 50-year-old is sitting in their garage inventing the Amazon killer. And there's no rules to it. There's 32 teams and no one else is allowed in without billions of dollars. Anyone can participate. And so if someone comes in with that love and passion and curiosity and dedication to the gamification of, I'm going to do this thing and play with it until I find it, that just happens. And it disrupts the industry or it disrupts the world or disrupts your company overnight.
Yeah.
And so you can never take your foot off the gas.
No, it's so true. Another friend of mine, Sean Purry, tells a story about Jeff Bezos. I don't know if it's true, but he basically says that he bought this gent's company, and I can't remember which one. So Jeff goes and buys this guy's company. This guy's like, great, you've spent, I don't know, let's make up the number, $50 million buying my company. He's going to go have business with Jeff Bezos. Have breakfast with Jeff Bezos. They sit down at breakfast, and Jeff orders like this weird black squid breakfast. And so the guy's like, okay, that's interesting. They sit down and they start talking. And the guy asks Jeff, why'd you buy my business? And it becomes pretty apparent pretty quickly that Jeff has really no idea what his business does. And Jeff finally looks at him and he goes, your business is this pasta, this like black squidded weird breakfast pasta. And he goes, I thought I'd try it. And I was like, that's so interesting. Why would Jeff Bezos buy a company to like try it on because it looks so weird? And the reason is exactly what you said, because Jeff knows, hey, some upstart who becomes really obsessed with this individual thing that's slightly different from everything else that we're doing, but could maybe disrupt it because I've never seen anything like this before. The risk is, if I buy it, I spend $50 million. That's like $50 to me. If I don't buy it, he's tinkering, and he might get close, and then it might be really expensive. So I'm just going to buy it right now. And I think that is what a lot of people don't realize about entrepreneurship is you have a lot of these big dogs out there who are looking at the marketplace and saying, like, I'm sort of watching what all these people are doing because I know at any point it's like whack-a-mole. They're going to come up, and we're going to start bringing them all in, which is why I get obsessed with acquisition, because I think it's the fastest way to growth. It's also the fastest way to kill innovation and competitors.
It is. And we can look at the greatest example where a company failed to do that when Blockbuster could have bought Netflix for almost nothing.
Wild. Yeah. Or you remember that story from Alexis Ohanian at Reddit? The founder of Reddit went to Yahoo, and Yahoo was going to buy Reddit. And by the end of the meeting, the CEO of Yahoo at the time basically said to them, we brought you in, we looked at this stuff, but you guys are basically a rounding error. And so we're not going to buy. And so Alexis and his co-founder went back to their office, beautiful office like you have, and wrote on the wall, rounding error. And ever since then, they were like, anytime somebody's keeping me down, I'm going to have this chip on my shoulder of rounding error. And lo and behold, Reddit becomes much larger than Yahoo. And now who even uses fucking Yahoo anymore?
Yeah, seriously. I can't remember the last time I went to Yahoo.
Oh, yeah. Does it exist anymore? Probably. I bet it's huge, actually.
I know
still.
they have articles, but do they really? If you go to yahoo.com, can you please send me a message? Because I need to know if anyone actually goes to Yahoo.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know that they do. That might just be another dark corner of the internet.
Number 7, don't listen to the narrative.
I think I know the answer, but I want to hear it from you. Why specifically boring companies?
I don't listen to the narrative, and I look at the numbers often. And when you look at the numbers, you see that the largest grouping of the Fortune 100 and 500 got there from acquisitions of things that I would classify as boring businesses. It's like, the Koch brothers in energy and food production. I mean, you see it obviously across the Walmart family with grocery stores. These businesses, because they've been around for a long time, they have a much higher likelihood of continuing to be around. It's called the Lindy effect. There's actually this phenomenon where if something has existed for a period, it's de-risked that it will continue to exist in the future, which is interesting because when I tell people I own laundromats, they go, does anybody even use those anymore? Right? And what turns out to be true is that something that has a lot of hype usually is a flame in and a flame out, aka NFTs in their first version form. Huge flame in and then complete flame out. And it's because you're not able to predict the future based on past numbers. And so boring businesses to me, it was all about the math. It was like these businesses make a lot of money. And yet we don't pay attention to them. And we want to start social apps and dating apps, et cetera, because that's what we see on the news glorified. We all are really a product of you can't be what you can't see. And so when we see people doing X, Y, Z, we think, oh, that's what I must be doing. And so anyway, I started buying a bunch of these companies. But then the deeper I got into it, the more I realized, oh no, actually, each community has a backbone that it needs in order to survive, right? So if you think about your local community, you need a doctor, you need a dentist, you need a roofer, you need an HVAC, you need a builder, right? There's probably 50 different types of companies that you need in order to make a modern community exist, not thrive, but exist. And I thought about the world we're coming into and saw a lot of the things that I think look recessionary and thought, if a recession happens and my toilet's broken, I'm still going to call a plumber. So I want to own that company.
Yeah.
And maybe it'll be better to sell fancy coffee in the short term. But in the long term, I think that business actually has a harder road to hoe. So that's why I started buying them.
Number 8, why boring businesses are the best business.
If you think about it, when have you ever had an experience with what's something that we all touch all the time? When have you had an experience with your electrician hooking up your TV, setting up your lights in your new apartment, whatever, and you've thought, that was an incredible experience. I'll remember that guy's name. What a cool email marketing campaign they had. Oh, the text message follow-up was incredible. Oh, they have affiliate services that they actually push us out to. The branding, exceptional. That doesn't happen in that world. Now, in your world, so for Everbowl, for instance, you have to have incredible branding because it's part of the vibe and you're setting a tone and it's aspirational. For my electric company, it's who's available fastest and looks like they have some decent reviews. And so if I'm not a genius, which I don't think I am, but I'm pretty good at executing, then I have such a low floor or ceiling, really, that I can be the best. I could be the best customer experience electrician company in my community, and it wouldn't even be that hard.
True.
Now, there's lots of things that are hard about the business, right? It's hard to hire people. It's hard to understand the business. It takes some cash to start it. All those things are true. But that's why I like boring businesses, because you don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be an innovator to start one.
Number 9, the cheat code to business.
Why acquire over start?
It's a cheat code. I like to think about it like you can run a relay race, right? And let's say there are 10 legs of the relay race. And I could start from the beginning of the relay race, and I could run the whole thing. And me and my team could switch back and forth, and we could, get pretty tired by the 5th, 6th, 7th. Or I could go grab the baton from the 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th person and just run the last couple legs of the race. And so I really like to steal other people's homework, basically. So with these businesses, if you understand the game of acquisitions, deal making, and structuring, then you have a foundation on which to build so much faster. I mean, think of all the stuff in the beginning with Everbull that it's why you guys have a franchise, right? Because franchisees can look at your model and say, Jeff spent, I don't know, $500,000 in losses to learn these lessons. I'm just going to not give him my $500,000 in losses. I'm going to pay him a couple $100K, and I'm going to take all of the lessons that he learned and apply them, and I probably have a higher likelihood of success. And so it's the same thing, except I don't always love a boss. And so I was nervous about the franchise model because I want to make sure that I can run the business the way I want to run it.
Which is the hardest part of being a franchisee.
Yeah.
And one of the things I learned with franchising Everbull, which I was never going to do, and then COVID.
Yeah.
But you have entrepreneurs who are buying into your brand. And in the absence of clear SOPs and clear answers, entrepreneurs are going to be entrepreneurs, and they're going to solve problems how they see fit.
Yep.
And so as a franchisor, it's frustrating, and I'm sure as a franchisee, it's frustrating because franchisees say, this doesn't make sense, Jeff. But what they are failing to realize is I have to make decisions for the totality of our stores around the country for uniformity, not for the market issues in one small community in America.
Yeah, well, and half the time you've seen the movie before. You go, so you think it's actually a superpower. So the fun part is when you do a bunch of deals or when you run a business, you go, okay, tell me about your problem. And they go, well, we can't get customers in the door. And you go, huh, okay. Well, is your sign out front illuminated? Because most of your customers come off of the freeway at night because you're located in a trucking zone. Oh, no, wait, it's not. And you get to see into the future. It's this fascinating thing. And so it's the same with my team, in multiple different ways. They'll say, well, why don't we do it this way? And I'll go, here's how that's going to play out. Steps 1 through 5. Do you want to do it anyways, just so you can kind of see how that works? And I can tell you I told you so at the end, or do you want to listen to the experience that I've already had? And most of the time, people do want to copy your homework. So, sure. And the other thing that I've realized too is, like you said in the beginning, not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur 100%. Lots of people actually need a handhold and like it. They like to have somebody standing alongside them and telling them it's okay and here's the right way to do it. And so for that type of human, a franchise is actually amazing because you have skin in the game, you have ownership, you have equity, and yet you have somebody who's standing right beside you.
And you have the the community, the buying power, the economies of scale, the camaraderie, the brand, all those things.
100%.
Versus the competition of starting yourself.
Yeah. And, a lot of people don't have an idea to start themselves. I am actually not that creative. I had no ideas for starting a business, which is why I bought a bunch of them. I didn't have that thing inside me that I couldn't sleep for the want of it, right? Mm-hmm. If I did, I probably would have started that app or that business. But I didn't. And so I thought, well, what I really want is freedom, not this thing to exist in the world. And if that's true, then what's the fastest path to freedom? If I buy a business, then I can close that deal, and on day one, that deal can be profitable to me. That's interesting because all I really want is the money and freedom. I don't actually care about building that thing. And then one day you will find the thing you want to build, and you do that after you've already made some profits, which to me just feels better than sleeping on a couch, trying to figure it out.
Thank you for listening to another segment of Lessons Learned. I hope you learned as much as I did from our very special guest, Codie Sanchez. Hey everyone. First, I want to thank all of you for tuning in. And if you guys haven't heard about my new book, Relationship Bank Account, click the link in the show notes or search the title on Amazon. This book is packed with all my secrets to success in both relationships and life. Make sure to pick up a copy, and if the book helps you on your journey, let us know by leaving a review. I appreciate all of you and can't wait to see you on the next one.